Hello everyone, I hope your day is unfolding gently and beautifully. Today, we return to the quiet countryside where James and Diep's story finally cracks open after years of silence. It is a morning when the air hangs heavy with the weight of unspoken words, when broken promises and suppressed grief rise to the surface, when a long-awaited kiss lands beside a small stream hidden behind a bamboo house. What you're about to witness is the confrontation Diep has feared and longed for. The moment she faces the man who once walked away from her, the truth he reveals about Cambodia and his father, and the fragile beginning of something they have both fought too hard to destroy. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what comes next. His hand was already at her waist when Diep realized, with a sudden jolt, that she had stopped breathing. James's other hand cradled the back of her head, fingers trembling in the strands of her hair as if terrified that if he loosened his grip, even for a heartbeat, she would vanish all over again. Then, without asking permission, without giving her time to rebuild the walls she had spent months assembling, he lowered his head and pressed his lips to hers. For a single suspended moment, the world went completely still, no whispering stream. No tracing wind. No distant rooster calling the day to begin. There was only the warmth of his mouth, the shaking of his hands, and the desperate, aching way he kissed her, as if this had been the one thing he had hungered for since the moment he walked away. And this was the kiss she had imagined on countless sleepless nights. Nights when memory and longing blurred into something sharp enough to hurt. Yet 1 hour earlier, she had not been able to take his hand. The countryside had stirred awake far earlier than either of them. Mist clung stubbornly to the bamboo leaves surrounding Diep's small house. It drifted low over the narrow dirt path like a veil of forgotten dreams. The morning air was cool, sharp in her lungs, crisp as unspoken truth. Behind them, the village had already begun its quiet routine. The faint buzz of early motorbikes, the muted clatter of dishes in kitchens where breakfast fires were burning. But on the path leading toward the stream, the world was unnervingly still. James and Diep walked side by side, their shoulders close but not touching. Dry leaves cracked under their sandals. Ahead, the stream murmured softly, offering a promise of movement neither of them could locate in their own hearts. Diep kept her eyes on the ground. James kept stealing glances at her, beginning a sentence silently in his mind, again and again, but never letting it escape his throat. Between them hung the memory of the previous night, James standing outside her bamboo fence after disappearing. His shadow across the gate, her heart leaping in relief, only to twist into anger. Now, in the bright honesty of morning, none of that had dissolved. When the trees finally opened up, the stream appeared before them, clear water slipping over smooth stones, catching scraps of early sunlight. Wildflowers, white and purple, bent toward the water, heavy with dew. Diep stepped forward, stopping on a flat rock. She crossed her arms loosely over her chest and stared at the current as though she might drop every question she had into the water and simply watch them drift out of her life. James's voice was rough when he finally spoke, about yesterday, about everything. But for once, she didn't let him begin. "Let me talk first," she said quietly. That hurt more than a scream. He closed his mouth and nodded, though she wasn't looking at him. "You know what hurts the most?" she asked, eyes fixed on the glittering water. "It's not just that you disappeared. It's how you chose to come back." Her fingers tightened on her arms. "You were gone," she said steadily. "No call, no message, just silence. And then I hear you're in Cambodia." "I don't know if you're alive. If you're in danger. If your father has done something to you." "Nothing, only rumors, only guesses." She swallowed hard, blinking away the heat behind her eyes. "And then one day, I find out you're back in Vietnam, back in the same country as me, under the same sky, and I didn't hear it from you." "I heard it from someone else." James felt that as though someone had driven a fist straight into his stomach. "I had reasons," he began weakly. She turned, slowly, and the ache in her eyes silenced him more thoroughly than a shout ever could. "That's the problem," she said. "You always have reasons, James. Reasons to disappear. Reasons not to call. Reasons to keep me out of the worst parts of your life." Her voice wasn't loud, but every word landed like a blade sharpened on truth. "Do you know what my days were like while you were being reasonable?" She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the faint redness around her eyes, the shadows etched by nights spent awake. "Every morning, I woke up wondering if you were still alive," she said, "if your father had hurt you. If you were trapped somewhere. If you needed help, and I didn't even know, because the one person who could have told me anything chose to tell me nothing." "I didn't want you dragged into this," he said hoarsely. "I didn't want you to be scared." A small, broken laugh escaped her, humorless, brittle. "I was already scared," she whispered. Every single day. The quiet that followed settled over them heavier than the morning mist. "We promised each other," she continued, voice trembling now. "We said if we stayed together, we would share everything, you and me against whatever came. No more secrets. No more disappearing. No more, I'll handle it alone." She breathed in, unsteady. "You came back to Vietnam, James. Close enough to walk down this path and knock on my door any day. And you still chose silence." He opened his mouth, but nothing he could say would sound like anything other than an excuse. You make decisions alone, she whispered. You suffer alone. You let your father hurt you, and you think shutting me out protects me. But all it does is remind me that I'm always outside the door. Always the last to know. Always the weakness you're ashamed to admit. Something inside him snapped. It's not. It is, she cut in, softly. Tears glimmered, refusing to fall. Isn't it? That was the moment he stopped thinking. In 2 quick steps, James closed the distance between them. Her breath caught when his hand found her waist, his other palm cupping the back of her head, fingers sliding into her hair like he had been holding that touch inside him for months. James, what are you? He didn't let her finish. His mouth crashed onto hers. For an instant, she froze, her hands suspended between them like unanswered questions. Then truth hit her in a wave. She had wanted this, from the first night he disappeared. From the first rumor that reached her, from the first second she saw him again at the fence. Her fingers clenched into his shirt. She closed her eyes and kissed him back. When they finally broke apart, breaths jagged, foreheads resting together, her fists were still gripping his shirt. I hate you, she whispered, voice trembling. You disappear. You break promises. You make me worry until I can't breathe. And then you come back and kiss me like that. A broken laugh escaped him. I know, he murmured. I don't deserve you. His hands softened on her face, thumbs brushing her cheeks. But I'm done hiding, he said quietly. You asked what really happened. Why I left. Why I went to Cambodia. What my father did. He drew in a long breath. It all started with my father's lie. They moved to sit on a smooth rock beside the stream, shoulders touching, not quite an embrace, but no longer the cold, deliberate distance of earlier. He told me it was just a short business trip, James said. A chance to fix some contracts. Prove myself. Clean up my own mess. He made it sound like he finally trusted me. A humorless smile passed his lips, but the moment I landed in Cambodia, nothing felt right. The driver wasn't from our company. The office was an empty shell, no real meetings, no real documents. Just people pushing papers at me and telling me to sign. Sign what? Diep asked, eyebrows knitting. Deals that were already dirty, he replied, in my name. Not his. Every time he hesitated, they reminded him. Your father trusts you. Your father knows you'll do the right thing. He didn't send me to fix anything, James said. He sent me as a shield. If things went bad, the blame would fall on me. Diep stared at him, chest tight. Then why didn't you call me? Even once, he swallowed, because he used you too. He told me that if I didn't cooperate, James said quietly, he'd talk to you. He'd involve you. He'd turn you into leverage. A tremor passed through Diep's hands. So every time I opened your contact, James continued, I heard his voice. Not yours. So you thought shutting me out would keep me safe? She whispered. I thought if I endured it and made it back, I could fix it alone, he admitted. But the longer I stayed, the more ashamed I felt. I fell into his trap again. And I didn't want you to see how weak I was. Diep looked away, eyes shimmering. You're not the only one he used. His heart dropped. What do you mean? Fat came to see me, she said quietly. He came with your father's words. Told me you had chosen your future with him, not with me. That if I really loved you, I should disappear and stop being a burden. James went pale. That was a lie, every word. I know that now, she whispered. But back then, you were gone. He was the only voice I had. So I pretended to agree. I played along to make them stop pushing. Stop watching. I waited and prayed you'd find your way back. James stared at her, breath trembling. All this time, he said, voice barely a whisper, we were trying to protect each other by pretending we didn't need each other. She smiled, small, tired, but real, and all we did was break each other's hearts. James stood slowly, stepped away, and plucked a tiny white wildflower from between the rocks. When he returned, he placed it gently above her ear. You're not outside the door anymore, Diep, he said. Not in my life. Not in this fight. Her breath hitched. If my father comes for me, he continued, he'll face both of us. And if he comes for me? She asked softly. He'll learn something, James said, voice firm. You're not my weakness. You're the reason I'm still fighting. Something in her, something that had been clenched tight for far too long, finally loosened. He held out his hand, not as a question, but as a vow. Diep looked at his hand, then into his eyes. This time, she didn't hesitate. Her fingers slid into his. Their grip was warm. Steady. Certain. Together, she said. They turned back toward the bamboo house, walking side by side. The wildflower trembled in her hair, and the memory of his long, aching kiss still burned on her lips. James had not just confessed his story, he had finally given her a place inside his life.